commercial and residential real estate investment. So I have been a fan of portfolio and diversification, and you know what it is all about. Talking about that you don't put all your eggs in one basket. You have to diversify, look at various types of investments. So, but when I was now restricted to two, I said, okay, let's see what we can come up with two types of investments, which are, of course, powerful types of investments. You know, we have variety of investment types outside real estate investment. But within real estate investment, residential and commercial property investments or real estate investments are amongst many. We have the industrial, we have the religious, we have institutional, we have agricultural. We've done this earlier, but now we are looking at commercial and residential real estate investment. And I will start by saying that, I hope my voice is audible enough. Yes. So I'll start by saying that when you talk about commercial real estate investment, at times some people think that it is the purpose that tells you what is commercial real estate investment. Am I communicating? In fact, that has been the misconception that is very common. People say it is the purpose, what it is used for, that determines whether it is a commercial real estate investment. But I said it is what it is meant to be used for, not what it is used for. Why did I say what it is meant to be used for? I was looking at this plan. There are zoning laws. If a place is meant for commercial use and you build a property there, it becomes a commercial property. Why did I say it is not what it is used for, but what it is meant to be used for? Because sometimes we have conversion. You come to a place, you have commercial property, and you see people using it for residential. That does not make it a residential property. It's a commercial property because that place is meant for commercial, and there are specifications, do you understand, for that place for you to put up a commercial property there. Am I communicating? So it is what is meant to be used for. So what determines a commercial property also is dependent on the plan in that area. The same applies for other types of properties. Residential, if a place is zoned for residential and you put up a property there, it is supposed to be a residential property. So if somebody decides to now use the place to sleep, to do office work, that does not make it a commercial property. Some people in their house, they have a room they will convert to office. That does not mean that the building is a commercial property. Am I communicating?
Yes, sir.
So, and that is what we have. So, we have commercial real estate investment as real estate investment meant for commercial purpose. Meant for. What is meant for? And we have some examples here. We have office properties. We have retail outlets, that's retail shopping. Well, you can talk of things like e-center, the Palms, and the likes for shopping malls. Then we have warehouses. Now, I want to tell you that it is not in all cases that warehouses can be referred to as commercial properties. There are occasions that warehouses may be industrial properties, depending on the features. When you have plants, heavy plants and machinery there, it has moved out from commercial property to what? To industrial properties. I hope it's clear.
Yes, sir.
So, and that is what we have for warehouses. Very common in Ikeja. You can see a lot of warehouses around our background. Is what I was thinking. Around our background, there are so many of them there. Then you have hotels, you have restaurants, you have student housing, hostels. They are commercial properties. Then you have medical offices. You have multi-family apartment buildings with over 4 units. So we are saying that that property that appears residential, that when it is more than 4 units, it has moved from residential property to what? To commercial. I don't know whether you are aware of that.
We are learning.
It has moved from residential to commercial. In fact, okay, that is the United States norm. I know we are colonized by British, but in actual sense, it has moved from residential to commercial. Even though here we still call it, yes, residential. Okay. Then, having said that, we look at residential real estate investment, and we say residential real estate investment focuses on properties designed for living. So they are designed for living, such as single family homes. Are you with me? Single family homes. Then we have the condominiums. Now, another misconception that is common is that people believe that condominium must always be residential buildings. You can have condominium. What do we mean by condominium? The emphasis is on ownership. So it's saying that in a tenanted apartment that people own units. Each of, maybe someone will own a flat, another person will own the other flat. It's not rented, they purchased it. That is what makes it a condominium. So it doesn't necessarily mean that condominium must be residential property investment. So, and we have also detached, semi-detached, maisonette, and the rest. So there are plethora of investment options. So these are the subtypes that you can see under residential. You also have terraced. You have tenement, what some people call face me, I face you. In Brazil, it is called Brazilian house. Okay? So, and plethora of others. So you can see there are so many places we can invest in. There are so many places we can invest in just within the real estate industry. Even just as we are talking about commercial and residential alone, you still have myriads of options that you can explore. So, and we will look, as time goes on, we'll look at the features of these options. So then we have commercial real estate investment are properties because, okay, we have investment status, okay? So what are we talking about under investment status? That a property is an income generating property does not make it commercial or residential, right? Because all real estate investments, because you have called it investment, they will generate income. So a commercial property is an income generating property, while a residential property can also be an income generating property. Okay, so they are both investments. They are both investment. And thank God the topic today is commercial and residential real estate investment. So they are all investments. Okay, so and having said that, we now have to look at the merits of commercial property investment over residential, because they have their merits and demerits. So when you look at commercial property investment, one of the advantages is that it is a high income yielding investment. You know that when you talk of income, we are referring here to rent. Most times it commands higher rent than residential properties. Who disagree with me? We agree, right?
Yes, sir.
So it commands, so I'm saying things you already know. I always tell you things you already know sometimes to refresh your memories. So it's a high what? Income yielding property compared to residential. That doesn't mean that residential properties does not yield income, but one yields more income than the other. Let's look at the next one, please. Okay, it's okay. So when we say it's a high income yielding property, that means you pay higher rent. Apart from that, you pay higher rent. There is another common feature of commercial property that adds to the income it yields. What is that? Sometimes you usually have long leases, but most times for residential, it is usually tenancy of 1 year or 2 years. But for commercial property, the owner can tell you pay 3 years, pay 4 years, pay 5 years, pay 6 years. And you know the implication of time value of money. They say a bed at hand is worth more than. So the one you have today, do you understand? When you have a bulk sum today, you'll be able to achieve a lot with it. Do you understand that? The one that is coming over time that could have been affected by what? By inflation. By inflation. So, and that's what we are saying. Then we look at the second feature in terms of capital growth. Both residential real estate investment and commercial real estate investment, the capital grows. I remember the first lecture we had sometime. We talked about returns and we talked about income return, which was the first one we treated just now. Then we also talked about capital return. So we are talking about the capital invested now. It also grows, and we are talking about what? Appreciation in value of capital invested. Because these are the things an investor looks out for. What is the income return like? What is the capital growth like or appreciation like? And we are saying that commercial real estate investment appreciates higher in value or faster in value than residential real estate investment. Because the essence of being an expert in this area is for you to know the features of different types of properties, to know where each one has advantage over the other, and that will guide you in making what we call an informed investment decision. So, and that's why we are looking at this. So, and we can also see other relevant factors include economic activity, interest rates. Okay, can you go up, please? Go, to the next. So, 3, we have stability and consistency of income due to longer lease. So we said here, why residential properties are typically held on short leases. I think I've said something on this, often 12 months to 2 years. Commercial properties typically attract longer lease terms between 3 to 10 years, providing consistent and predictable income streams over time. So there is one more thing I want to say about this commercial real estate investment. Because in the case of long leases, there are approaches to that. You can have a graduated lease. You can decide to have a fixed income. That's a fixed lease. That means that the rent is static or is flat over the duration of the lease. But why some companies consider graduated lease is to take into consideration. That means when you talk of graduated lease, it means that this lease has to be reviewed from time to time. Okay? But the amount to which it will be reviewed to is already predetermined. So at so and so years, you will be paying this amount. It has changed. Am I communicating?
Yes.
So they are trying to take into consideration inflation to cushion the effect of inflation on the rent that is paid. But this can work very well in a system that the rent, you can easily predict it, that the economy is not highly volatile. In a volatile economy, there will be high degree of uncertainty that your prediction may not yield the desired result. At the end of the day, it is either you make a loss or you make a gain. Am I communicating, please? So these are some of the things that we need to know. Then we look at, again, income growth. Income return is the first one. It's quite different from the growth. Okay? They say the longer the lease of commercial properties usually allow for rent to increase every year. The net lease. So when we talk about net lease, there is what you call gross income. There is also what you call the net income. And the difference between the gross income and the net income is what? Outgoings, right? Is outgoings. So, and what we are saying is that when it comes to residential real estate investment, the property owner takes responsibility of outgoings, which include tax, insurance, maintenance, and repairs. But in the case of commercial property, most cases, it is the tenant that takes care of outgoings, which include what? Maintenance, insurance, and what? Tax. But there are exceptional cases. So in these exceptional cases, that was how we have the idea of single net lease, the idea of double net lease, and the idea of triple net lease. So that a situation, the landlord or the property owner is taking care of only one of these outgoings, it is called the single net lease. If he's taking care of two, it is called the double net lease. If he's taking care of three, it is called now the triple net lease. So, and the benefit there in most cases, because we say what is common, is that the property owner takes care of none. So the stewardship there is minimal. The stress there is minimal in the case of what? Commercial real estate investment. In terms of who takes care of responsibility, but not in terms of complexity of management. We will get to that point. Then we look at number 6, which talks about reliable tenants. We say we have all heard stories about the issue of tenancy, and that's where complication comes in the case of commercial property. But in residential property, in the case of residential property, what you call stubborn tenants. Professionally, we call it recalcitrant what? Tenants. They will give you all manner of stories, especially when it comes to parting away with fun money. They will give you all the reasons why they don't have to pay rent or service charge. But in the case of commercial property, the advantage there is that the tenants have no story to tell because they are doing what? They are generating income. They are doing business. You cannot say your business is not working. If it's not working, then just quietly pack out. So you can't give that excuse. So it is easier to do what? To get reliable tenants when you are dealing with what? Commercial properties. Okay? Then we move on to the place that interests me so much, which is now diversification. Diversification. Can I ask a question? Are we in a commercial office or a residential apartment property? Is this a commercial?
It's a commercial.
So what's the purpose of this place? What do you do here? Is this just a training center?
No.
What?
Business.
Huh?
Business.
Business? So you're all business ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes, sir.
And you use it again for training. Are you not overtasking the building? Huh? What else do you use it for?
That's the two things.
Huh?
That's the two things for now.
Well, whenever you have more than two purposes you are using something for, you have diversified. That's your portfolio. And we are saying that in commercial real estate investment, you can diversify. You can do so many things with that building. But in residential, it's a home. Everything that is done there is home business, home matter. So that's the advantage. You can do so many things. There are some commercial properties you come. One section, you see, do you understand? Where there are one type of commercial activity, another kind of, this is still in the same building. So you can diversify. I'm not talking about misuse yet. I'm talking about just one company doing so many things. Do you understand? In his office or shop. It's just like a typical example is shopping mall. There are different things they sell there. They are in different markets. That's diversification. The mixed use you are talking about is when you come, you see a property whereby maybe the upper floors are residential, the ground floors maybe are commercial. That's a kind of misuse. Okay? So you can diversify in the case of commercial property, but it's not easy for you to diversify when you have your apartment, you have your family and children to do business inside that house. It's not usually that easy. So we move on to the next one, which is ability to collectively invest. These are areas you hear things like all those crowdfunding and the rest of them, real estate investment trust. So I think this is both an advantage to commercial and residential and cannot be restricted to only commercial. So what we are saying is that, you know, that real estate investment is capital intensive. It requires huge amount of money when you are investing directly. But that there is room for you to invest indirectly, either by buying shares, do you understand, and buying units of a company share. So with that, you don't need to, do you understand, have billions or millions for you to invest in real estate. So commercial real estate investment gives that opportunity, because most fund managers like pension fund, insurance companies like Mansard Insurance, they by law they are expected to invest in real estate investments. Okay, pension fund, at least 5% of their total fund should go to real estate investments, and they invest heavily in income generating properties. So you can buy shares from pension funds if they are originating shares. You can buy from insurance companies. You can buy from other funds. You can also buy from real estate investment trust. And the underlying investment this time around can either be residential, it can be commercial, it can be industrial, it can be any other type of property. So it is now left for you to know where you can locate all these indirect investments. And it is a matter of choice. Before you can buy, you need to go and make some inquiry. and find out what they are investing on. You don't just hear that they are selling shares or they are issuing shares, you just jump and start buying. Where will the dividend come from? You need to probe it. Do you understand? You need to know these companies. You need to know their managerial capacities. You need to know their track records, what they have achieved in the past, their performances in the past. So if you say you want to buy in real estate investment, especially the ones that are blue chip, when we talk of blue chip, we are talking about the ones that are quoted. They are PLCs with Nigerian Stock Exchange. It's safer. Presently, real estate investment trusts that we know today that are quoted with Nigerian Stock Exchange that are doing well is Sky Shelter Fund, presently called SFX REIT. Before, when they originated, it was what? Sky Shelter Fund. They originated in 2007. They came up registered in 2007. That was the first real estate. Until today, they are still doing very well. And some of us are subscribing to these investments. After that, in 2008, the Union Home REITs came up. Union Home REITs, Real Estate Investment Trust, came up. They're also not doing badly. Then after that, in 2013, the UPDC REITs came up. They are also doing well. In fact, they took up the 1004 estate from government before. I think it now moved to either Alpha Med, and I think that has moved again. But I'm not current as to where 1004 the current custodians, managers are handling it are now. So, but these REITs are doing well. In terms of funds, Asa Mansard Insurance is doing very well, excellently well. Then you can also key into, some of you might think that I still have a long way to go, I'm still young. And what am I doing with pension? Thank God that today that there is what you call the mandatory pension fund. Do you understand? So that every employer is to make sure that their employee, do you understand, are connected to this. So you start planning for tomorrow, today. That's what we call being proactive. Okay, so longer lease agreements provide long-term income. So it's just trying to pass across the message that it has long-term income. So let's look at the demerits of commercial real estate investments, please. So as with all investment, commercial property investment also has demerits, which includes, so what we have there, more complex. Okay, the first one we have there is higher initial investment and ongoing costs. So we are saying that for you to have access to commercial real estate investment is very costly. The rents are high on the part of the person that is renting it, not on the part of the owner. The owner will prefer high rent, but the buyer or the person that is renting it will look for low rent. What they say, one man's food is another man's poison. So the advantage to the tenant is that, the disadvantage to the tenant is that there is high initial investment and ongoing cost. That is operational cost. Then it's also more complex to manage. It's more complex to manage. Then we also have greater sensitivity to economic cycle. So when we are talking about greater sensitivity to economic cycle, of course you are aware of the economic depression that we had in around the year 2008, which later revisited us around the year 1920. And that one is as a result of what? COVID-19. The one that happened around 2008 was as a result of what? The economic meltdown in United States of America, the Fannie Mae, the Freddie Mac, the Ginnie Mae, which moved from the Asian world, then it now came down to Africa. That was when we had this main crash in our stock, economic meltdown in our stock exchange market. I hope you remember. So, but what we are saying is that even during depression, so that you'll be seeing the advantages, it will guide you in your choices of investment. That even during depression, that the commercial property is affected more than the residential real estate investment, because at that point people will cut down on their costs. You are doing business, the business is not really working fine, it's going to affect the rent you pay. But for residential, you must live in a house. So you find out that the drop in rent paid for commercial properties will be higher than that of residential, and you will see so many voids. And that was when this last one, people started doing what they call online sales, virtual. They started leaving offices. Why must I work in office? And you know that it is demand that drives value. So the value has to come down. They say scarcity does what? Creates value. So when there is scarcity of demand, scarcity does what? Creates value. So, but when you now have surplus, because people are leaving these apartments, leaving these commercial properties, what happens? Value will do what? Drop. So that is what we are saying, that it has greater sensitivity to what? Economic cycle. So can we move on, please? Then this is for residential real estate investment. The advantages it has over commercial is that it is more accessible and affordable for new and individual investors. Accessibility in terms of that the amount of money you will pay for it is lesser. Okay? So let's move on, please. There is nothing much to say about this. Then 2, generates rental income and potential for long-term appreciation. So for investors that are looking for long-term investment that will give them return in the long term, they are not in a haste. You can go for residential instead of commercial, because the income is consistent. They will keep paying the rent. But in the case of commercial, sometimes they will just leave the apartment, and for you to get new tenants, it might take some time. But we have more consistency of income when it comes to residential real estate investment, though the amount may not be much. That's why we call it a long-term investment. You start recouping in the what? Long run. But you will recoup faster in the case of commercial real estate investment. Then we have typically easier to finance and manage. It still boils down that it is less capital intensive than the other one. So we look at the demerits of residential real estate investments compared to commercial. Smaller rental yield compared with commercial properties. We've come across this earlier. Higher vacancy risk. Okay, then dealing with tenants, especially during rent collection periods, can be difficult. We have already seen. Let's leave it at that. That investment goes. I want to believe when you are talking about investors have different goals.
Yes, sir.
My goal may not be your goal. Am I communicating?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Goals differs. Objectives does what? Differs. Motive for investing differs. So what we are saying here, the same way goals differs, that same way different investments too also differs. Their attributes or characteristics are not the same. Am I communicating?
Yes, sir.
So when you choose, the first thing you do is to choose your motive for investing. Choose your goal for investing. Choose your objective for what? Investing. Then when you've made your choice that this is my reason for investing, it is now your duty to also look for the investment that has the attributes to satisfy those objectives. Am I communicating?
Yes, sir.
Because it's not every investment that will satisfy your goal. You have to look for that one that has the features or characteristics to satisfy what? Your goal. And that is why we used to have, with all these big companies, they call annual general meeting for the shareholders to voice out. It will now guide the fund managers in investment selection, because they have to look for those investments that have the attribute to satisfy the shareholders' objectives. So, and that takes us back to, since we have restricted ourselves to commercial and residential, I will not go beyond that. There are so many other attributes of investment, and there are so many other goals. Do you understand? So, but now we say, if your objective is to generate higher income in the short term, what will you go for based on what we have discussed so far? Commercial real estate investment might be more suitable given net lease and its potential for higher rental yields. Now, again, if you are looking for, so these are different goals, objectives. I don't know what your own is. So if your own falls within any of these, you know what to go for. If you are looking for long-term wealth accumulation with steady income, what will you go for? We have said that. You go for residential real estate investment. Then we move on, please. So, now, commercial real estate is usually more sensitive to economic cycles. We've said that. So while it can offer higher potential returns, it also comes with higher risk, such as longer vacancy periods. I've said that, and more significant impact from market downturns as business scale back and may close certain locations. If you are a risk taker, what will you go for? If you are a risk-averse investor, what will you go for? Residential. So we move on. Can we move on? Then we have safety of investments. Then we say residential real estate typically offers more stability, making it a relatively safer choice for investors with a lower risk decision. I think we've come across this. Should align with how comfortable, you are with potential income. Okay, so let's move to the next one. We've obviously known this. Then level of expertise and management requirements. Which one's commercial? The complexity. So if you want to be, nobody looks for trouble. Am I communicating? So if you don't want to task yourself so much, what will you go for? You go for residential. So in terms of management. So can we move on, please? Then liquidity considerations. Commercial properties typically have a smaller pool of potential buyers, which can affect liquidity. So what we are saying there is that if you bring out residential property investment and you bring out commercial property investment for sale, which one will you sell faster? Residential. You will sell residential because the demand is what? More. So it is the one that you will sell faster that will attract cash also faster, because the liquidity is talking about the ease with which an asset can be converted into what? Cash. So it is the one that will sell fast that will give you cash faster. But in both cases, though the two of them are marketable investment. Marketability is a characteristic of investment, but one sells faster. It is the one that sells faster that will be more liquid. Am I right? Yes. So then we also look at tax implications. Then we say typically residential properties have lower property tax rates than commercial properties. However, some jurisdictions offer tax incentives for commercial property investment, such as reduced rates or credit for developing in certain areas or for specific types of tenants to attract new businesses. Can we look at the last? It's advisable to consult with a tax professional to understand how investing in commercial versus residential real estate will impact in tax situation. So these are the features of commercial and residential real estate investment, and these are the things that will guide you in making informed investment decision. And we have also told you that when we talk about commercial real estate investment and residential, that sometimes you invest in commercial properties indirectly. Sometimes you invest in commercial real estate investments too, indirectly. So whenever you are buying shares, you are an indirect investor. You need to, before you buy, probe into what you are buying. Because if your fund manager is not buying the right kind of investment, it will also affect what comes to you as dividend. Do you understand? So when you buy shares, what are you entitled to? You're entitled to dividends. When you buy bonds, what are you entitled to? You're entitled to what you call coupon as against dividends. And when you talk about coupon, when we talk about bonds in Nigeria, you know that the ones that are very common in Nigeria are the treasury bills, treasury certificate. You see, sometimes I have a friend that came one time and was telling me that they have investments in US that are very lucrative. You know, sometimes the problem we have here is that we are not well informed about certain investments. He said that he showed me the document that you have to invest 8 million. At the end of the year, you will make additional 1 million. That means they will pay you 9 million at the end of a year. I say, why will you invest in a company you have not seen that is in United States of America? What they are doing there is virtual. You don't even know their office. There is no place they call office. The risk is high when there are opportunities even in your own domain. It's just that we are not well informed. This year, treasury bills even sold as high as 16% for 91 days treasury bill. And people rushed and they bought. Around February, the 182 days treasury bill sold at 17.5%, and people rushed and they bought. This is higher than the so-called 1 million that 8 million will generate if you check it. The 364 treasury bills sold this year at 20.6%. In fact, about 3 months ago, my neighbor called me, invited me to the house. I came down. He told me that he's a stockbroker that is celebrating that one of his clients bought him a car. We went down, we saw the car, because the man cashed out with a total whooping sum of about 190 million just in one purchase. Last year, this year, they turnover. So he decided to take care of the stockbroker. He had to buy him a car and gave him an envelope of 5 million. This is not the investor, it is only a helper. So there are opportunities, but sometimes we are not aware of these opportunities. And I believe that as time goes on, we will keep unraveling these opportunities, and all of them must not be in millions or billions. There are still small investments you can keep keying into to multiply your income, to grow your income. And most of these investments have real estate on that own. When you are talking about treasury bills and treasury certificates, they are not just going to get a pool of fund and not invest it. They invest it in infrastructural facilities. Okay? And you cannot separate infrastructural facilities from real estate investment. So these are the little I have to say for today. Thank you very much.